Alright, so we're on problem 19-2A. And so in 19-2A, so we have a company that's operating at full capacity where they've sold 150,000 units at a price of $116 per unit. So then it goes on to give us some income statement information here, and it also gives us the division of cost between, hey, what's fixed and what's variable. So then it goes on to tell us that management is considering expanding the plant, and it's going to cost about $3.625 million, or it'll increase sales by $3.625 million, and it will increase fixed costs by $1 million. So, okay, so starting off, went ahead and moved the income statement data over here in Excel so we can use it. So we just moved this over here. So 4.4 million of income from operations, got it over here. Then I also plugged in the variable and fixed. So for cost of goods sold, we have 80% variable. That's 4.8 million, and fixed it would be 20% at 1.2, and so on. So out of the $7 million, oh, that's not right. So I guess it's cost of goods sold. Let's see. Okay, so we have $13 million of total cost. Out of that, we have 9.9 million is variable and 3.1 is fixed. So okay. So in part number one, it asks us essentially just break out the fixed and variable cost. So we've kind of already done that up here. So all we have to do is link up. So the variable cost, we have cost of goods sold. We have selling expenses and admin. For fixed, same cost of goods sold. And there we go. Okay, so we got part one figured out. We've broken out between variable and fixed. And so in part two, it wants us to determine the unit variable cost and the unit contribution margin. So part 2A, for the unit variable cost, we want the total variable cost, which we calculated at 9.9, and the number of units, and they said that they're selling 150,000. So that means the variable cost per each unit is $66. And so the contribution margin, unit contribution margin, we have the contribution margin, which that is going to be our total sales minus our variable cost, which is 7.5, and units is 150,000. So the contribution margin per unit is $50. So this makes sense. So if we take our variable cost plus our contribution margin, that gives us $116, which is the same as our selling price. Cool, we are in good shape. It matches up. So we can also calculate the unit contribution margin that way. Oops. Back that up. If we take our selling price minus our unit contribution margin, also gives us $50. So same number, just two ways to get to it. All right, in part 3, it says compute the break-even sales in units for the current year. So our formula for that is we have fixed cost divided by our unit contribution margin. So if we take our fixed cost, which is up here at 3.1 million. And we want to divide that by our unit contribution margin, which we calculated at 50. So 3.1 million divided by 50. So that means to break even, we have to sell 62,000 units. So, all right. In part 4, it wants us to do the break even. So the break even under the new proposal. Okay, so same formula. We have fixed cost divided by our unit contribution margin. And so our fixed cost are 3.1 million, plus we're going to increase that by $1 million. So now we have fixed cost of 4.1 million. Our contribution margin is not changing because our variable costs are not changing. So we're going to divide that by 50. So under the new proposal, we're going to have to sell 82,000 units. So if we want to go ahead and do this project just to break even, we're going to have to sell more units. So we don't want to increase, you know, if we're provided the option of doing this or not, hey, we increase our capacity, but we also have to sell more to break even. So we want to make sure that by generating more units, we'll actually be able to sell those units. Alright, so part 5, to determine the amount of sales and units would be necessary under the proposed program to reach $4.4 million. And so what it's asking for, it's asking us for a target profit, or the units to reach a target profit. And so the formula for that is going to be the exact same as break even, except all we do is we take the profit that we want to earn and we just add it to our fixed cost. So 3.1 million will get us to break even, but we don't want to just break even. We want to reach a target profit So I think it's asking here under the proposed program. Okay, so it's asking us under this new proposal, so consider expansion. So our fixed cost are going to be the original 3.1 plus our $1 million. So fixed cost plus we're hoping to get to have a profit of 4.4 million divided by our unit contribution margin. So that means under this new program, if we're going to expand the plant and we want to have $4.4 million of profit, we have to sell $170,000. Or sorry, 170,000 units. So, okay, and hey, this makes sense. So before we did any expansion, we had operating income of 4.4 million. And so if we want to expand the plant, so before we were selling 150,000 units to get to the 4.4 million of profit. So now it's saying that we have to sell 170,000 units to get to that same $4.4 million of profit. And so we actually could have figured that out up here under this problem, because we did break even for both the new proposal and the old one, and so that's a difference of 20,000 units. So add the 150,000 that we were selling, increase that by 20,000, gets us to 170,000. So, all right, so part 6 says determine the maximum income from operations with the expanded plant. Okay, so we have the income statement information before the expansion. So we're going to have sales of 17 and subtract out let's see, what is that? So subtract out fixed cost of 3.1 and subtract out variable cost 9.9. Okay, that matches 4.4. And now if we do the expansion, it says that we're going to increase sales by 3.65. We're also going to increase our fixed cost, go back up here, by $1 million. And then we have to and so now we have to figure out how much more additional variable cost we're going to have. So if we're going to have more sales, that means we're going to sell more units, which means we're going to have more variable cost. And so to figure this out, we want to take the new sales that we're going to have, so the 3.625, and if we take and plug in our selling price, which is 116,000 units. So now if we divide that, that means we're going to sell we're expecting to sell 31,250 more units. And so we know what our variable cost is per unit, because we calculated that up here. So for every unit we sell, we're going to have variable cost of $66. So $66 times the new units that we're going to sell. So we are going to have new variable cost of $2.062 million. So by adding this new expansion, we're expecting to take our profit from 4.4 million up to 4.962 million. Okay, number 7. If the proposal is accepted and the sales remain at the current level, what will the income or loss be from operations? So if we go through all the trouble of expanding the plant, but we don't increase sales, what's going to happen? So if we take our current operating income of 4.4, plus we're going to spend an extra $1 million on fixed cost, but we're projecting we're not going to sell any more units, which means we won't have any additional variable cost. So that means our profit will drop to $3.4 million if we don't in fact actually benefit from the extra number of units. So then the last one, this is based on the given data, would you recommend accepting the proposal? And so I guess the short answer is, well, it depends. You know, if all these projections are true, and by expanding the plant we do increase sales, then yeah, hey, let's accept it, because we'll increase our income by $500,000. But on the other hand, on doing so, there's some risk to that, because in order to get this increase, we're gonna have to up our sales. And so I guess it really comes down to, you know, how accurate, you know, how confident are we that we can actually increase the sales. You know, I would say in this situation, if we're at capacity and we're selling our full capacity, yeah, chances are that there's a good chance that we have the opportunity to sell more units. Um, and given the fact that even if we don't sell more units, we're still making a profit. I would think it would probably be a beneficial move to do, but it's not without its risks. So.